everyone. Welcome back. We're diving deep today into a match that's got everyone talking, that El Clásico shocker. Barcelona just completely dismantled Real Madrid 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah.
We've got some great sources lined up to figure out how on earth that happened and why it matters so much, especially for one player who, well, probably wants to forget this one ever happened.
Yeah, this El Clásico, it definitely delivered, that's for sure. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming, especially not with everyone so focused on Mbappe, making his big debut in this historic rivalry.
Right. Everyone was expecting, like, Mbappe fireworks. But instead, what we got was, like, Barcelona just schooling them on the counterattack, like a tactical masterclass.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, a record-breaking performance from Mbappe. Just not the kind of record he was hoping for, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get into all that, let's rewind a bit, set the stage. Real Madrid actually had a pretty dominant first half. They were controlling the ball, creating chances. I mean, they really looked like they were in the driver's seat.
You know, you're right. And Mbappe, he was electric in those first few minutes.
Yeah.
That disallowed goal in the 35th minute. I mean, the way he just, like, danced past those defenders, I thought for sure that was it. The floodgates were about to open.
Yeah, that disallowed goal. It's funny looking back, it was like a turning point. Like, it woke Barcelona up or something. They suddenly realized, okay, we need to change things up here. And another thing, statistically, that goalless first half, I was pretty rare for an El Clásico. Like, the first time in, over 3 years, that one went into halftime at 0-0.
Okay, so then what happened? What changed for Barcelona in that second half? Did they just, like, find another gear?
Yeah.
Or was it something more strategic, tactical?
Well, Hansi Flick, Barcelona's manager, he definitely made some key adjustments. They came out with a much higher defensive line, which, I mean, on paper, that sounded risky, but it was clear they were trying to disrupt Mbappe's game.
Tell me about it. The guy ended up setting a La Liga record for the most offsides in a single match over the past decade. So, like, how did that work, this highline thing, to actually neutralize Mbappe? Did it just limit his chances? Or was there something more to it than that?
Well, see, the high line basically took away the space Mbappe usually thrives in. The guy's known for his speed, right? His explosiveness, that ability to just blow past defenders, get in behind the back line. But with Barcelona's defense pushed way up the pitch, there was just no space for him to do his thing.
So it wasn't just about catching him offside. It was about forcing him to make decisions in these really tight spaces under more pressure.
Yeah.
Which, I guess, messed up his rhythm.
Exactly. It forced him to like check his runs, hesitate, which, I mean, that's not his game, Barcelona basically took away his biggest weapon.
Yeah.
His ability to just run wild on defenders.
And it worked brilliantly. But I got to say, a high line, that's a risky strategy.
Right.
If your timing is off even a little bit, you leave these massive gaps for the other team to exploit.
Yeah, it's high risk, high reward. It needs like perfect communication between the defenders and a goalkeeper who's comfortable playing sweeper keeper. Luckily for Barcelona, they had Iñaki Peña, and he was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, he was fearless. I remember reading a quote from him after the match where he said, playing a high line, it was like non-negotiable for Coach Flick.
Wow, that's saying something. It shows you the level of trust and confidence Flick has built in his players, To use a strategy that risky in El Clásico against a player like Mbappe, you got to have total faith in your team to pull it off.
And they did. They pulled it off spectacularly. Not only did they shut down Mbappe, but they also created so many opportunities going forward. I mean, those quick transitions with Pedri and Gavi leading the charge in midfield, they were just devastating.
Oh, yeah, and you can't forget about the finishing either. Robert Lewandowski, he was in top form. 2 goals in quick succession.
And you know what else is interesting? Barcelona's starting lineup. 5 homegrown players. 6 under 22 years old. It felt like they were making a statement.
It was definitely a bold move by Flick, especially in a game like this. But it just shows you the incredible talent coming out of their academy, La Masia.
I mean, La Masia has always been like a factory for world-class talent. But to see this many young players alongside veterans like Lewandowski performing at that level in El Clásico, it really speaks to the club's philosophy,
Yeah, absolutely. They're not afraid to give young players a chance, even on the biggest stages, and, well, it's paying off.
So let's break down those goals. Lewandowski, he was his usual ruthless self, but it was the assist that really caught my eye, especially that first one by Marc Casadó.
Casadó, another La Masia product, by the way. He delivered this perfectly weighted through ball, just sliced right through Real Madrid's defense. A moment of pure brilliance, and I think it really set the tone for the rest of the match.
And then, boom, minutes later, Lewandowski scores again. Powerful header from a Raphinha cross.
It felt like something just clicked for Barcelona, like the floodgates opened, and Real Madrid just had no answer.
And to think, this was all happening while Mbappe, the guy everyone was watching, was having, probably the most frustrating night of his career.
Yeah, we'll get into that more, but for now, let's stick with what Barcelona did to really take control of the game. Barcelona's midfield, they were just on another level in that second half. Pedri and Gavi, those two, they were everywhere. Winning tackles, picking off passes, just controlling the tempo of the game. Like, it was a midfield masterclass, honestly.
Yeah, it felt like Real Madrid just couldn't get anything going. Every time they tried to build an attack, boom, Barcelona would win the ball back and launch another counter.
And it wasn't just about winning the ball back, Their passing, it was so crisp, so precise, moving the ball quickly, finding those pockets of space, creating chances. It was like they were toying with them.
And then you've got Lamine Yamal coming on. This kid, he's only 17, comes off the bench and scores a goal that, people will be talking about that one for years.
Oh, that goal was special, man. It wasn't just the finish, which was, world class, but the whole build-up, the movement, the confidence to take on those defenders. Yamal, he was just like everything that was good about Barcelona that night, all in one player.
And he's the youngest goal scorer in El Clásico history now, too. You could see what it meant to him, to the team, to the fans. It was just like pure joy.
And for Real Madrid, talk about adding insult to injury. They were already reeling from Barcelona's tactics, and then this kid comes on and does that.
Okay, so we got to talk about Mbappe. We touched on it earlier, but his performance, it was surprising, to say the least. A record number of offsides, visibly frustrated, just couldn't seem to get anything going. What happened there?
Barcelona, they did their homework. They knew what Mbappe was all about, his speed, his need for space, and they built a game plan to shut him down.
That high line, it was definitely aimed at Mbappe, and it worked. But, it makes me wonder, is this something other teams are going to start doing more often? Could this be like the start of a new trend, a way to defend against these super fast forwards like Mbappe?
It's definitely a trend we're seeing more and more these days. Teams are starting to realize that to stop these guys, you got to take away their space. A high line, if it's done right, it can be super effective.
But it's a gamble, right? You're basically playing with fire. Because if that line breaks down, you're leaving your goal wide open.
Oh, absolutely. It takes a special kind of defender, someone who's quick, agile, and comfortable defending one-on-one. And you need a goalkeeper who can read the game, act like a sweeper keeper. Barcelona, they've got those players, and they clearly trust their system.
It's amazing to see how that tactical battle played out. Barcelona's high line, it wasn't just about stopping Mbappe, it was about creating chances for themselves, too.
Exactly. Pushing that defensive line so high, it also compressed the space in midfield, forced Real Madrid to play in these tighter areas, which, that played right into Barcelona's hands. They've got some of the best, most technical midfielders in the world.
And it allowed them to launch those lightning-fast counters. 1 minute they're defending deep, the next they're breaking forward at warp speed, with Lewandowski leading the charge.
Tactical masterclass from Hansi Flick. He knew exactly how to exploit Real Madrid's weaknesses and play to his team's strengths.
And we can't forget about Raphinha either. 2 assists, and he's been phenomenal under Flick this whole season.
Raphinha, he was, people thought he was inconsistent before Flick came along. But this season, he's been a revelation. Scoring goals, setting them up, working hard defensively. He's become a complete player under Flick.
Okay, but let's get back to Mbappe for a second. This wasn't just an off night for him. It felt like he was genuinely struggling to figure out how to play against Barcelona's tactics.
I think this match, it showed us a potential weakness in this game, If teams start using this high line tactic more regularly, he's going to have to adapt.
He's so reliant on his speed, on getting in behind defenders.
Yeah.
If teams take that away, can he still be as effective? That's the big question.
And it's a question that could really define the rest of his career. He's young, he's incredibly talented, but this match, it was a wake-up call for sure.
Do you think this could be a turning point for him? Like a moment that forces him to evolve his game, add some new tools to his arsenal?
I think it has to be. If he wants to stay at the top, he can't just rely on one thing. He needs to develop his game, become more versatile and more adaptable.
So what does all this mean for the future of football? Are we going to see a decline in the traditional number 9, the striker who just relies on pace? Or will guys like Mbappe find a way to adapt and thrive in this new tactical landscape?
Oh, man, that's the million-dollar question. It's going to be fascinating to watch how it all plays out.
This El Clásico, it was more than just a game. You know, it was like a glimpse into the future of football, the old guard versus the new, a clash of tactics and philosophies.
And it was a reminder that even the best players in the world, they're not immune to tactical innovation.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're watching, I don't know, like a tactical revolution happening right in front of us.
Yeah.
And this El Clásico is like the perfect example. You know, how managers are figuring out new ways to deal with guys like Mbappe, how to shut them down.
Oh, for sure. Flick, he had a plan, you know? He knew Mbappe was the danger man, and he built a whole strategy around taking away his strengths. And, I mean, it worked perfectly.
It makes you wonder, though, right? Like, is this the new blueprint? Are we going to see more and more teams using this high-line tactic against these speed demons?
It's definitely possible. Like we were saying, it's risky, but the payoff can be huge. Barcelona showed us that. And I mean, if teams start using it well, consistently, it could really change how the game is played at the highest level.
And it's going to force players like Mbappe to adjust, to evolve.
Right.
I mean, he's built on speed, that explosiveness. But what happens when teams take away his space? Can he still be that dominant force?
That's the big question now. He's got to become more well-rounded, add some new wrinkles to his game. Can he develop his hold-up play, get better at linking up with teammates, figure out how to move in those tight spaces if he wants to stay at the top? Those are the things he's got to work on.
It's a great point. This El Clásico, it was a reminder, I think, that football, it's always changing. Tactics evolve, players adapt. What worked yesterday might not work today, you know.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. You've got these new managers like Flick who are willing to experiment, to push the boundaries, to find new ways to win.
This match, it felt like a statement from Barcelona. Not just beating their rivals, but showing the world that they're back, they're serious contenders.
Oh, yeah, they've got the players, they've got the manager, and now they've got the tactical awareness. They can compete with anyone. This could be the beginning of a new dynasty for them.
And for Real Madrid, well, it's a wake-up call. They got to adapt, evolve, find ways to counter these new tactics. Otherwise, they're going to get left behind.
I think this El Clásico was a turning point for both clubs and, honestly, for the game itself. People will be talking about this match for years, analyzing it, debating it, and it's going to have a ripple effect on how football is played going forward.
It's been an incredible deep dive, really. One of the most memorable El Clásicos in recent history.
Absolutely. It had it all. Tactics, amazing goals, individual brilliance, even a bit of controversy.
But at the end of the day, it reminded us why we love this sport so much. It's unpredictable, it's passionate, and it never stops evolving.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep that passion for football alive.
Well said. That's it for this deep dive, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
If you like this content, please like the video, hit the notifications button, subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.